Fair warning, babes. This is an adult podcast made for adult ears. We dive deep into historical events that might make some of you blush or feel a bit uncomfortable over. So, if you are not an adult or an adult who prefers to steer clear of topics that get a little naughty, now might be the time to click away. For the rest of you darling souls, hello and welcome. Are you ready to pay for it? Me too. But before we dive in, if you love history with a spicy twist, please consider subscribing on your favorite platform. It really does help us keep going. All right, enough foreplay. Let's head straight into the red light district. I'm ready if you are.
I got something between my legs that'll make a dead man come. Oh, that. I got something between my legs that'll make a dead man come. Oh, that. I'm gonna turn back my mattress and let you all my springs. I want you to find me, daddy, till the bell do ring. Oh, daddy, want you to shade and dry.
Hello, my name is Summer, and this is Paying For It. Thank you for being here for episode 42, season 3, baby. Well. Paying For It is back, darlings. Welcome to season 3. Bigger, bolder, and juicier than ever. If you thought the last 2 seasons had all the scandal and intrigue, hold on to your hats because we are just getting started. But before we dive into all the stories, the queens, and the drama, I've got exciting news to share with you. Drumroll, please. We have officially launched our brand new website. That's right. Now you can dive even deeper into the world of ladies of the night, red light districts, and all things scandalous. Head over to payingforitmedia.com and take a little peek. You'll find soon-to-be bonus content, behind the scenes, and all kinds of goodies. And don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. And yeah, all of your info on all your favorite episodes will also be there as well. And of course, there are plenty of ways to get involved and show your support. But wait, there's more. We are also taking the conversation beyond the mic. You can now follow Paying For It on social medias. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, and sadly Facebook will not allow me. I keep trying, I've signed up twice, and yeah, they keep suspending my account, so I give up. But at the moment, we are on Twitter and Instagram. So definitely go on over there and find us at Paying For It Media, where we'll be serving up daily doses of history, sass, and maybe even a few spoilers, because let's be real, I can't help myself sometimes. So whether it's fun facts, coming up episodes, episode teasers, or those sizzling story snippets, there's plenty to keep you entertained between episodes. And now for the most important part. I need you, darlings. That's right. I need you to join the conversation. Share your thoughts, help spread the word, and follow us on all the social medias I just mentioned. And don't forget to check out the new website. And also, don't be shy about sharing your favorite episodes with your friends. And hey, if you love what you're hearing, leave us a review. Feedback keeps this scandalous train rolling. Season 3 is going to be one for the books, and I couldn't be more excited to have you along for the ride. So, grab yourself a wine, get cozy, and let's dive into another season of tales that'll make your jaws drop. Trust me, this season is full of the kind of stories that'll leave you begging for more. Hello, darlings. How the hell are you? I'm so excited to be back, and happy Halloween. I've missed you, but I hope you're excited for all the fun changes coming our way. Anyways, let's catch up on things that I have done while I've been away besides the websites and social. Hello, can we talk about backgrounds? That's right. Not only do we have a background and we're filming at night, welcome to the red light district at night, finally. What background, baby? She's giving lovely. I love it. So I'm a bookish girly. I think we already know that by now. I found these floating shelves and I was like, those are perfect. Perfect. So yeah, I've got more to come, but now several chef's kiss. Took me forever with some help to put these freaking bookshelves up, but dang, it was a lot of screws. What else have I done since I've been gone? Which it hasn't been that long, thank goodness. I didn't lie to y'all this time. But we went to the Texas Fair, which was a lot of fun. And I love a good Texas Fair. This time we went in the evening and we were able to drink, eat, and vibe, honestly. And we had a good time. I had a lot of fun. And yeah, it is, full spooky season going on right now. If all goes as planned, this episode is coming out on Halloween, so hello Chucky. But I'll be throwing a Halloween party for the first time ever, which I'm very excited about. So hopefully, that goes well. So we have Halloween coming up, and if you're listening to this the day it's released, then hello, happy Halloween. I hope you had a wonderful Halloween, whether it's filled with candy, drinking, or just vibing out in costumes and being spooky. I hope it was whatever you wished it to be. And I like spooky season to go from Halloween to right before Thanksgiving. So I will still be spooky probably in the next couple of episodes. And I don't care. And I guess I should tell you I finished Throne of Glass. And if you know, you know. Okay? Okay, that's all I got to say about that. It's just, it's been a week or two since I finished, and I'm still just trying to heal. I think I'm in the biggest book slump ever. I finally finished the first book after Throne of Glass just this week, and it took me a long time. I put down several books. I DNF'd several books. Probably not hard DNFs, but I just could not get into them. It wasn't the right time. I was healing. I don't know what else to say. So that is what I've been up to. I hope you guys didn't miss me too much, because I'm back. I'm excited. And shall we get into it? I think we shall. Welcome, darlings, to Paying For It. And if you're new here, this is the podcast where we dive deep into the scandalous lives of the women who played by their own rules, risking it all, owning their choices, and leaving their mark on history. Now, let me ask you a question. What would you do if life handed you nothing but hard knocks and the world expected you to just sit there and take it? Some women buckled under the weight of society's expectations, but others? Well, they take their destiny into their own hands and turn the game on its head. Today, we are about to dive into the story of one such woman. Imagine this. A small town girl from a rural South, born into a family where survival wasn't guaranteed, let alone success. A girl who watched the world tear itself apart during the Civil War, marching soldiers, dangerous skirmishes, and the harsh realities of life for those left behind. And then, right before her 12th birthday, she vanishes, gone without a trace. What drives a young girl to run away? To leave everything she's ever known? Was she running from something? Or maybe someone? The truth is, we may never know what lit the spark, but we do know is that the life she stepped into next would be anything but ordinary. Our mystery woman reappears in one of America's most notorious red light districts, a place teeming with vice, danger, and power. She wasn't just another girl in the sea of scandal. Oh no, this woman, well, she had ambition. And before long, she transferred from a runaway into one of the most infamous figures in the underworld, a queen ruling over her own little empire. But as always, power comes at a price. What does it take to survive in a world where every move is a gamble and danger lurks around every corner? What happens when a woman is forced to navigate a world built to keep her down and she manages to come on top? I'll give you this much. The name she was born with is, of course, not the name history remembers her by. Like so many women who took control of their destinies, she reinvented herself. She chooses a new name, a new persona, and a new path. One that will make her both a legend and a target. Curious yet? Good. Stick around because this story is full of twists, turns, and tantalizing secrets that'll leave you wondering how one woman could rise to such notorious heights. Get ready, because once we pull back the curtains, there's no going back. So, without further ado, let's dive into the story of a woman who defied the odds, made her own way, and paid the price for it. Trust me, darlings, you won't want to miss it. And with that, you know what time it is. Grab yourself a cocktail, a mocktail, a coffee, whatever you fancy. Today, I have a wine baby. Hello, welcome to season 3. I feel like this queen would only be sipping on a glass of wine. Gives that wine girly kind of vibe, in my opinion. But I'm curious to see what you think after this whole thing. But whatever you choose to be sipping on, I hope you're enjoying it. And I hope it's delicious. And cheers, 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 cheers. And let me introduce you to Lizzie Lape. All right. Elizabeth Rogers was a Southern belle, born right in Whitley County, Kentucky. Like many fabulous queens, we dish about here on Paying for It. Her early years are a little, shall we say, a mystery to history. But thanks to her ever curious great granddaughter, Deborah Lape, who did the kind of digging we live for, we got some juicy glimpses into her childhood. And honey, those insights give us a peek into why Elizabeth blossomed into the infamous Lizzie Lape. And after our deep dive, you're still feeling like you need more Lizzie Lape, I highly suggest you check out Deborah Lape's book, which is where I got all of the information for this deep dive, and it's amazing. It's called Looking for Lizzie, The True Story of Ohio Madams, Her Sporting Life and Hidden Legacy by Deborah Lape. And yeah, highly recommend the read. I'm only halfway through it because guess what? We're deep diving. So we've got some parts to go. I'm thinking 2 to 3, but we shall see what the rest of this book brings us. Anywho, back to Elizabeth. So, our darling Elizabeth was born around 1853 to parents Prior and Cynthia Rogers. Now, history claims that the Roger family had virtually nothing but children. Bless their hearts. But when we dig a little deeper into the family tree, we find out that really shouldn't have been the case. You see, Prior's father, James Roger, was quite a big deal in Whitley County, Kentucky. Seems like the family legacy was more than just babies. But what left son and wife practically destitute, while dear old dad, wealthy and living just down the street, didn't lift a finger. Intriguing, right? Let's dive in and see what skeletons are rattling in this closet, shall we? So, James Rogers, Prior's father, was no ordinary man. He was a Revolutionary War veteran. James didn't just hang up his boots after the battle was won. He set his sights on Whitley County, and by 1848, he had practically become one of its founding fathers. Sharp as wit, fiercely driven, and determined to make his mark. Sounds like someone we're about to get to know, to be honest. James didn't rest until he built quite the fortune for himself, becoming one of the wealthiest men around. Now, James, who had his fair share of children, wasn't the type to tolerate laziness. So when it came time to pen his will, let's just say he didn't exactly play favorites. In fact, several of his kids, including Prior, found themselves practically written out. James left them a grand total of $1. Yikes. Talk about a statement, right? That's a one to say, don't come knocking. I'm sure James had his reasons for cutting certain children out of the will, but we're going to zero in on Elizabeth's father, Prior. You see, James felt that Prior was a little too unfit for an inheritance thanks to his fondness for the bottle. That's right. Alcoholism had Prior on the outs, and James wasn't about to hand over a fortune to a man he saw as, well, less than reliable, even if Prior had 5 children under his care. Which brings us back to Prior and Cynthia and their brood of 6, which I know you're like, you just said 5, but we're getting there. First up, we've got the eldest boy named James W. Rogers, followed closely by our leading lady, Elizabeth. Then came Luke, and then little Nancy, who tragically did not make it past infancy. And rounding out the crew was the twins, Alex and Henry. Quite the lineup, wouldn't you say? That is a lot of mouths to feed, darling. And with both Pryor and Cynthia being quite fond of the bottle, life for the children couldn't have been a walk in the park. Imagine trying to get by with parents who definitely don't have their shit together. And when there's no laws or anything. This was the start of America. That sounds so lame. But there was the US was in its infancy at this point, okay? So we didn't have any checks and balances. And so kids were just popping up left and right, but that didn't mean anyone of their parents had their shit together. So it's bad enough to be in this time period and have parents that don't have their shit together. Imagine being in the 1800s, okay? Actually, don't imagine, because it's frightful for sure. Anyways, and on top of all of that, the family was living in Whitney County just as the Civil War started to brew. All right. Talk about pretty tough times, right? Little Elizabeth spent her early years watching soldiers march through her small town, a constant reminder the world around her was at war. Things took a sharp turn on July 25th, 1863, when Confederate Colonel John S. Scott and his men clashed with the Union's 44th Ohio Infantry in Whitley County. Yeah, in this small town that she's living in, right? So Scott's forces, which were about 1,600 strong, had come from East Tennessee looking to destroy the federal communication lines and restock their provisions. And this battle, this scrimmage, it was definitely a moment that surely left an impression on young Elizabeth, with war literally coming right to her doorsteps. The war will finally come to an end on April 9th, 1865, which will put a stop to the endless amount of soldiers marching past her doorstep. But unfortunately for young Elizabeth, the end of the war didn't mean the end of the grim life she was living under her parents' roof. The battles outside may have ceased, but inside her home, that was a different story altogether. And life as the only girl among her siblings couldn't have been easy either. And things were getting more complicated as she was 11 years old. Elizabeth was quickly approaching her 12th birthday. Now, it's important to keep in mind in Whitley County at this time, the age of consent was shockingly 12, which is just sick. Babes, don't forget, this is our history. This is facts. And that is just sick. But before Elizabeth reached that milestone, she vanished from Whitley, disappearing just before her 12th birthday, around April 18th, 1865. So the question is, was young Lizzie running from something or someone? Or was something someone, because no good. But we may never know the full story, but if you ask me, the timing of Elizabeth's runaway act is very interesting. The war had just ended. Soldiers were coming back into society lost, looking for something to live for again, something to hold on to. You have to wonder if Elizabeth was staring down the harsh realities faced by so many young women of that time. Social expectations were still weighing heavily on girls like her, especially in the South. Early marriage was practically a given, and after the war, marriage was seen as the key to stability in a world turned upside down. So it's really not hard to assume our girl was running from someone and was attempting to dodge the fate so many women of her time had to accept. It's a question that keeps me curious for sure. Meanwhile, in America, things were changing with the end of the war. Theaters and traveling circuses started popping up again. Theater was actually allowing women actors instead of men dressed up as women, which is sometimes you look into history and then you hear things and you're just like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? Okay, so yeah, theaters were allowing women to play their own role instead of men playing the women role. Okay, singing and dancing and comedic skits were becoming the it thing, honestly. It was the vibes. Also, well, at the end of the war, the new hype thing was the leg shows featuring the high kick. So we have just some entertainment re-entering into our world, okay? Because things were bleak for a while. And some more risque things are starting to pick back up. And something that polite society was kind of accepting was these like burlesque high kick shows. I know, scandalous. While Elizabeth was still in Whitney County, she would have witnessed a lot of these new entertainments passing through and the opportunities presenting themselves to ladies now. Is this how she left town? Maybe hitching a ride with one of those traveling entertainment groups? Or maybe, just maybe, she left the old-fashioned way on horse and wagon, dust kicking up behind her as she rode away from everything she'd ever known. Either way, Elizabeth was off, setting out to be on a journey that would transform her into Lizzie, the woman we're all dying to know a little bit more about. Elizabeth was the first post-Civil War generation. She was young and lovely in a world full of broken and sad soldiers, and she was going to use that to her advantage. So we are going to lose track of Elizabeth for a while. Where she went after leaving home is a mystery, lost to history. But don't worry, she doesn't stay hidden forever. We find her again in none other than Chicago, Illinois. And it's there in the gritty underbelly of the city that she sheds her past and fully embraces her new life. It's Chicago where Elizabeth will truly become Lizzie. In Chicago, Elizabeth found herself right in the heart of the red light district, most likely the infamous levee. Now, we've touched on the levee briefly in our past episodes, but don't worry. I plan on giving that 20-block hub of Vice a full deep dive soon. Whether she started going by Lizzie here or before her arrival is still kind of a mystery. You see, girls who entered the sporting life often changed their names for all kinds of reasons. Some wanted to spare their families the shame or embarrassment, while others embraced their new persona and figured, why not give it a fresh name to match? And for some, a new name was the key to an escape plan when they were ready to leave it all behind. They'd have their true name to go back to, leaving their past life in the shadows of the district. Anyways, let's talk about the Levi District, a 20-block playground of vice, famous for its wild mix of sex work, illegal activity, and of course, violence, and good old-fashioned racketeering. It was the kind of place where trouble thrived, and danger was just part of the allure. If you were looking for mischief, honey, the Levi had it in spades. At 18, we know that Lizzie is still in Chicago. Which house, which madam, or saloon she was working for is another mystery to history. However, we can assume because she was young, beautiful, and free, she was a hit with the men coming through the district. That was until October 8th, 1871, when the Great Fire of Chicago, Illinois burns through the area, causing the entire city to flee, including the many women who had made their livelihood within the Levi, Lizzie being one of them. The Great Chicago Fire was a devastating event that destroyed much of the city, leaving a profound impact on the Chicago development. Originating on October 8, 1871, the fire raged for 3 days, fueled by the city's conditions, wooden structures, and a strong winds. It consumed approximately 3.3 square miles of the city, killing around 300 people and displacing 100,000 residents. One area notably affected by the fires was the Levi District, the notorious vice area located near the river. At this point, Lizzie has to make some fast decisions, as even though Chicago quickly tried to rebuild, her livelihood would be put on pause long enough to affect her life. So Lizzie decides that maybe it's time to get out of the game. She will do this by getting married to her best client. Let me introduce you to Jeremy Lape. Jeremy Lape was a 32-year-old Union War veteran, hardened by the trials of battle. At just 22, in April 1862, young Jeremy fought in one of the bloodiest 3-day battles of the Civil War. In Shiloh, Tennessee. Though he survived the carnage, Jeremy lost sight in one eye, a wound that would mark him for life. And while the injury was evident, there's another, less visible wound that's been whispered about for years. Rumor has it the battle may have taken away more than just his vision. But don't worry, we'll be getting to that soon enough. Anywho, whatever house or madam Lizzie may have been working under, it somehow brought Jeremiah right to her doorstep. And let me tell you, he didn't waste any time. He quickly became her best customer. Now, darlings, don't forget what our dear Lizzie was up to at this time, okay? Our girlie was getting paid for it. Now, Jeremiah was spending his days, or rather nights, paying for it with Lizzie in every sense of the word. But here's where things get really interesting. When Lizzie's livelihood literally went up in smoke, poof, she had to act fast. And who does she turn to? Her broken, lonely soldier, Jeremiah, who was more than willing to play the role of savior for his favorite girl. You could say he was all too happy to step in and rescue her. But oh, what a rescue it would turn out to be. So they are going to head to Shelbyville, Illinois to seal the deal. That's right. On December 8th, 1872, the two were wed, making it official. It's here in this flourishing city of Illinois town that Lizzie took Jeremiah's last name, Lape. And with it, she claims the final piece to her soon-to-be infamous character. From Elizabeth Rogers to Lizzie Lape, our girl was well on her way to writing her own legend. And trust me, this was just the beginning of her story. It's pretty reasonable to assume that after the wedding, Jeremiah was ready to head back home and face reality, now with a wife by his side. So Lizzie and Jeremiah likely hopped on a train, the new thing, bound for his hometown of Plain City, Ohio. Jeremiah, the oldest of 10 children, yeah, you heard me right, 10 children, was returning to his roots. The Lape family may not have been considered wealthy, but they certainly had a reputation for being hardworking folks. For Lizzie, this was the next chapter, one where she'd be stepping into a family full of grit and determination. How do you think our girl handled it? Jeremiah, he will go on to become a policeman in Plain City, Ohio, a role that would put him at the heart of the community. Lizzie and Jeremiah lived practically right next door to his mother, which surprisingly didn't seem to cause too much drama. For 9 years, they navigated marriage life together, building a life that on the surface appeared stable and content. But as we know, all good things must come to an end. After nearly a decade of wedding bliss, things started to take a downward turn for our couple. What could have possibly gone wrong in this seemingly picture-perfect life? After 6 years of marriage, Lizzie and Jeremiah will welcome their first and only child, a baby boy named Henry Arville Lape, on August 17th, 1878. Now, for me, 6 years into a marriage seems like a perfectly lovely time to start having kids if that's what you want. But for this small town community, back in the 1800s, it was enough to set the town abuzz. Remember those whispers about Jeremiah losing more than his eyesight in the Bloody War? Yeah, well, that is where those rumors will come into play. During their first 6 years of marriage, there was quite a bit of chatter about the couple's struggle with starting a family. Many believed that Jeremiah had lost his ability to father children back on the battlefield, which only fueled the gossip mill, of course. So when Lizzie suddenly turned up pregnant, people couldn't help but raise their eyebrows and question everything, her, him, and the legitimacy of their child. But here's the kicker. For the first couple of years of young Henry's life, that gossip didn't seem to bother the family much at all. I mean, 4 years, they're chilling, it seems like. However, things take a turn when Jeremiah's mother, Mary Ann, passed away sometime between 1880 and 1882. It's around this time that the spark in Lizzie and Jeremiah's marriage began to fizzle out, leaving us to wonder what happened to the couple who once seemed so solid. So what the fuck did happen? We have a few theories what may have caused the breakdown of Lizzie and Jeremiah's marriage. So let's dive right in, shall we? First up, the theory that many folk might gravitate towards because, let's face it, women often get the blame for everything. When Lizzie started taking up tailoring, it was said that many of her clients were, shocker, a male. No. Leading to the speculation that she might have brought a touch of that red light district charm into her tailoring business. And yes, this is entirely possible. And this could explain why Lizzie suddenly became pregnant after 6 years of marriage. But hold on a second. Hold on. I think we might be overlooking a much more glaring reason for their troubles. What if it was the death of Jeremiah's mother that really shook things up? A classic mama's boy might struggle to cope with the loss of the woman he loved most. And that kind of grief can seriously mess with the marriage. Now, let's think about this. Henry arrived 4 years before things started to sour between the couple. If Jeremiah had any suspicions or belief in the gossip about Lizzie cheating or selling her wares alongside her tailoring, why would he stick around to care for her child for all those years? But then, right around the time Marianne's passing, we start to see Lizzie and him pulling away from each other. Coincidence? Maybe, but it's a very suspicious timeline, in my opinion. And let's not forget this little tidbit. 10 years later, when Jeremiah passes away, he chooses to be buried in between his mother and father. I mean, am I the only one who finds that just a tad bit odd? It makes you wonder about the emotional ties he had with his mother and how that may have impacted his relationship with Lizzie. But the true dirty details of the dissolution of Lizzie and Jeremiah's marriage will unfortunately remain a mystery to history. Still, these theories definitely have me pondering what really happens. Now, during their marriage, Jeremiah and Lizzie boarded with Elmira Bigelow Thomas, a woman with quite an interesting history, who may have left the biggest mark on Lizzie during her time in Plain City, Ohio. Elmira did something that most women of this generation couldn't even begin to imagine. She successfully sued and divorced her husband. Elmira's husband, who was a bar owner, had the audacity to run off with a much younger woman. But Elmira didn't let that slide. She managed to get divorced from the cheating bastard and even retained land ownership rights. Now, let me tell you, in the late 1800s, this was practically unheard of, okay? For a woman to not only secure her divorce, but also keep her rights to land, that was revolutionary. Elmira's boldness must have made quite an impression on Lizzie, providing her with a glimpse into a different life, a life where a woman could take control of her destiny, even in the face of scandal. It makes you wonder how much Elmira's trailblazing spirit influenced Lizzie's own choices as her marriage began to unravel. So by 1882, 29-year-old Lizzie had left 40-year-old Jeremiah in Plain City, Ohio, and headed out for greener pastures, staying in Columbus, Ohio City. in a boarding house on 5th South Nishth, possibly taking his money box with her. Maybe he gave it to her. Maybe he did not. History will never tell. However, Lizzie's life is about to take a sharp turn back into the sporting life. This time, she finds herself tangled up with gangs, trading her apron for a reputation as a bit of a bad girl. The vibrant world of saloons and nightlife she initially embraced takes a darker twist, leading her down a path filled with danger and intrigue. But darling, that's a story for part 2. Trust me, you won't want to miss how Lizzie navigates this thrilling and perilous new chapter of her life. Stay tuned to unravel the next phase of her captivating journey. All right, my darlings, we've covered quite a bit this first part of our deep dive into Lizzie, into the life of the one and only Lizzie Lape, haven't we? From small town girl growing up in the heart of Whitley County to a child who vanished right before her 12th birthday, Lizzie's story is already packed with mystery, and we're only getting started. We begin by stepping into Lizzie's early life, born to Pryor and Cynthia Rogers, two parents who, shall we say, weren't exactly winning at parenting awards, with both of them having a deep affection for the bottle. Young Elizabeth and her siblings grew up in a household that was far, far from stable. And as the only girl in the family, you can imagine life wasn't easy for her. We took a look at Whitley County during the Civil War. Soldiers marching through the streets, skirmishes just outside the front door. Little Elizabeth would have witnessed those tumultuous years firsthand, and who knows what kinds of effects that had on her. The war ended in 1865, but life didn't magically get better for her family. In fact, it was just around this time that Elizabeth disappeared from Whitley altogether, before her 12th birthday. Now, this is where things get really interesting. Was she running from something or someone, or was she just trying to escape a life she knew would lead nowhere? The age of consent in Whitley County was at, again, 12 years old. Can't help but wonder if a young Elizabeth was trying to avoid a darker fate. The circumstances around her disappearance leave us with more questions than answers, don't they? And then there's the question of her name. Elizabeth Rogers becomes Lizzie Lape. When exactly that transformation took place is a bit murky, but we do know this: women in the sporting life often took new names when they entered their profession, whether to shield their families from shame, to create a whole new persona, or to keep their true identity safe for when they eventually left the life. Those name changes were about survival, about reclaiming some sort of control in a world that gave them very little. It's clear that her life takes a sharp turn here in the next part. And Lizzie isn't just going to survive, she's going to thrive and demand resilience and a sharp mind. But how does a girl from rural Kentucky grow into one of the most infamous figures in the underworld? What choices does she make to get there, and what did she leave behind? But of course, we are not stopping here, my loves. Oh no, we are just beginning of Lizzie's story. Part 2 is where things really start to heat up. In the next episode, we'll follow Lizzie's journey through the glittering, dangerous streets of different parts of Ohio. We'll explore how she navigated the world of vice, crime, and power, and more importantly, how she carved out her place in it. trust me, Lizzie wasn't content to be just another girl on the scene. She had bigger ambitions, and the next chapter of her life is where we see those ambitions start to take shape. So get ready, because when we meet again, we'll be diving into Lizzie's rise to infame. We'll uncover the people she rubbed shoulders with, the power plays she made, and of course, the risk she took along the way. And there was some risk. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Lizzie Lape didn't just survive her circumstances. She defied them. And in doing so, she becomes a legend in her own rights. But as we know, darlings, there's always a price to pay for a life lived on the edge. Stay tuned for part 2, because trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Well, my darlings, that's another tantalizing start to a tale. Checked off in the books. I hope you enjoy this little dive into the world of Paying for It, where history's most notorious ladies and their scandals, life takes center stage. If you're anything like me, you're already itching for more. But don't worry, there's plenty more where that came from. Now, before I let you go, I've got a few reminders for you. If you're here loving what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Whether you're a regular listener or brand new to the show, subscribing means you'll always be the first to know when a fresh, juicy story drops. And let's be real, who wants to miss out on that? But that's not all I have. Have you checked out our brand new website yet? If you haven't, now is the perfect time. Head over to payingforitmedia.com to find all the extra goodies, exclusive content, episode notes, and maybe even a few surprises I've been hiding up my sleeve. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter so you'll always stay in the loop on what's coming next. Oh, and let's not forget about social media. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook. Oh, nope, sorry, not Facebook. They don't like me. Twitter, Instagram, and of course, still on TikTok. And join the conversation. You know I love hearing from you, whether it's your thoughts on today's episode, ideas for future deep dives, or just sharing your favorite scandalous facts. Drop by and say hello. Plus, it's where I like to give you a little behind the scenes peek at what I'm working on next. So if you like spoilers, you'll want to follow along. And of course, if today's episode left you wanting more, share the love, tell your friends, post about it, scream it from the rooftops. Every time you share Paying for It, it helps out our little community of history lovers grow. And you know what they say, the more the merrier. One last thing, if you're feeling extra generous, leave a review wherever you listen. It's like handing out gold stars, and I think I deserve one. It's the best way to show your love and support, and keeps this fabulous journey rolling. All right, my loves, that is it for today. Thank you for tuning in and spending your time with me, diving into the past, where scandal and history intertwine. I'll see you next time with another story, part 2, that's sure to keep you on the edge of your seat. Until then, stay curious, stay cheeky, and remember, sometimes the best stories are those that we aren't supposed to know. Goodbye.
I got something between my legs gonna make a dead man come. Oh, that. I got something between my legs that'll make a dead man come. Oh, that. I'm gonna turn back my mattress and let you all my springs. I want you to find me, daddy, till the bell do ring. Oh, daddy, want you to